Hi, everyone, and welcome back once again to our weekly TV show, Make Our World Your Runway. This is Angela Posillico, and I am the CEO for Miss International World and Miss Latina International. Now, this show is all about the entertainment industry, the pageant industry, and of course, fashion. And today we are going to concentrate on the fashion industry. I have a wonderful designer known by Mariano Feliciano, but more importantly, he's known by his stage name, okay, Forever Lavi. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Forever Lavi. Lavi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Angela, making our world your runway. You know, every day is our runway. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it is our pleasure to have you. And yes, today is absolutely your runway. So I think what I want to focus on and let all our listeners know is that you are so creative. You deal in the elements. And I want you to explain to our viewers on why you went into this industry, why you became a designer, why you created so many different designs, and why fashion seems to be a passion of yours.
Oh, yes. I mean, I'm an artist at heart. So, you know, just expressing that itself in the form of fashion is just a lot itself in what I do. So, like I said, fashion is the highest form of art. So here we are.
Exactly. Fashion is a way to express yourself. And as I told you that I'm also an entertainer, okay, and I'm an artist. And when I get on that stage, I find that that is a great way for me to express myself. And whether I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling happy or there's something bothering me, I just get so much into my song.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I'm an Italian, so I'll start moving my hands, and I do that on stage as well, too.
You really get into it. And
exactly.
Something that I always mention as well is I also said what's bad for the heart is good for the art. You know, it's as much as that sounds, it's so true.
Exactly.
When you really, you know, or in that triumph or, you know, that dark cloud, you really find within yourself. And, you know, that's kind of what brings my art and fashion into it. You know, I kind of like, I guess I feel the world out. You know, I feel everyone out and what the world's going to, and I kind of interpret that into my art and my fashion.
And you know, that's so important today, especially there's so many things going on in the world today. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of hatred going on. And I think it's due to the fact that so many of us were locked down with COVID, which was something that couldn't be helped. The economy is still trying to come back. You know, we have taken COVID down. And then, of course, unfortunately, this past summer, we got stuck with a variant and things had to slow down again. But you were really one of the bright lights during COVID because you didn't stop. You were a lot like me. You found a way to still keep out there, get your word out there, and really be creative. And one of the things that impressed me when I was watching your videos was that trip that you made to Bali. It was so beautiful. So why was that so important to you? And
that was just so aligned. I'm sorry. But that was in such alignment to where, you know, it all started to the elements right here in the base of Miami, you know, starting with the phase 1 collection, which was air and water. You know, I define that here in Miami, that's what we have 24 hours, 365 days around the year. So I'm really influenced and inspired about my surroundings and my environment to where it started from the elements to where I got this opportunity to then be in China creating and developing and pursuing my art and my dreams to where I find myself surrounded by these temples and these galleries to where China was then the place of fire, the dragons, the temples. So I found myself in the fire element, you know, where I was creating shows and actually Shanghai Fashion Week. I actually produced a show within 3 months in Shanghai.
Wow.
Completely by myself. It's insane. Not by myself, but being in China or this foreign country by myself. It really just inspired me. And, you know, I wanted to take my abilities for developing and creating here in the States and, you know, at home to another level to see what I'm really capable of. And from there, yeah, it just kind of just fell into a place, like I said, in alignment to where, you know, unfortunately, like you said, COVID did happen, to where it kind of forced me to make decisions. And, you know, these decisions were certainly divine, to where it ended me up in Bali, you know. So while I'm touring and exploring this island, I then find myself in the earth elements with waterfalls and rice fields and everything organic, you know. There was a time where Bali was shut down, you know, even the beaches were closed and things like that. And
Yes.
being a creator and artist, you want to find an outlet no matter what. And being in a new place, you know, so suddenly, you know, I was quick to adapt, to where then I came with the Revival. So the Revival collection was actually me, you know, interpreting the world, you know, because once something, you know, comes back to life, or to revitalize, is what I would say, is to bring the world back again. So I was kind of just pushing that forward and just kind of getting that energy to interpret that into my Revival collection, which I then was in my villa just gathering paints and actually like Indian chief heads and things like that, developing jackets with feathers dripping from the sleeves. That was incredible, because that right there really made my mark in Bali, to where it kind of sparked the whole world, I would say, because I then did a show in Bali, maybe 2 weeks, or because Bali was locked down for maybe about 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks.
Yes.
And then I actually did a show. This was one of the first shows, I would say, in the world during lockdown. So it was unbelievable, with people looking outside in and seeing me still developing and creating and producing these shows. So Revival collection, and then it kind of turned into the Origin collection. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Yeah, I love everything you're saying.
Oh yes, it's crazy. I swear, it's a whole book coming soon. But most certainly, I mean, it's like I said, it's a divine, you know, alignment. Because once I did the Revival, I was starting to get traction. I was starting to get the attention I needed. I was like, all right, so I have something. Everybody was really segregated. You know, a lot of stuff going on in the United States with Trump, and, you know, going on in China, all this hate and things like that.
Right.
To where I then developed the Origin collection. The Origin collection was basically representing the start from for it all. So you can actually see the Rebirth collection here. We'll get to that after the Origin collection. So the Origin collection, I kind of depicted all of the cultures together. I was actually drawing these monumental places and these monumental cultural symbols. So where I then created like kimonos, I created jackets, custom jackets, and this was kind of just bringing the world together, showing the world that we're all one and that we need to start again, you know, and do better as a whole. So that's where the Origin collection came in. That was one of my favorite collections. I mean, as a whole campaign. The commercial on that was phenomenal. This was all done in Bali. And yeah, we did a fashion show. It was incredible. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that video. And you know, it's funny you should say that, because when I first started out in the cosmetic industry, that's the other side of artistry for me. I did work for a company, Shiseido, which is out of Japan. And they came into the United States. And I did notice one thing, okay? And of course, Europe or the Far East is so totally different than what we do here in the States. But anything that's Asiatic, okay, and especially the Far East, they seem to get very creative even in their own arts. So it was very, it's very different. And if you can incorporate that with fashion, it's very, very eye-catching to people that are even here. And, you know, you said something like during COVID, you had to be creative. And I had to do the same thing, too.
I mean, when I don't create, I feel like I'm dying. Like, It's life, I swear. Like
You
that's
and I
why.
are on,
That's
you and I
why
are on the same wavelength.
for sure. That's why there's so many realms of creation. If I can't do something, I'm drawing, I'm painting, I'm editing. You know, photography. This got to be busy. And
Yeah, you do. You have to be busy. And I did the same thing. I had to find another way because, you know, we weren't doing events. And
yes,
because I'm into pageantry, a lot of our, when we go to live events, that's where we get a lot of our visuality. But I knew I had to be creative. So I teamed up with the Supermodels Unlimited magazine. And what we did is we did a lot of articles. But at the same time, I was able to feature my girls on billboards in New York, California, Las Vegas. And that created a whole nother world for me. And then we did, you know, a lot of things by Zoom where we were still able to get our word out and keep the fashion industry going.
you know, we're humans. You know, that's our superpower. We adapt. You know, no matter what comes our way, it's inevitable for us to go through change and to become who we are.
Exactly. Now we're going to be working with you on November the 17th for a cultural show. I know that my pageant coordinator, and she also owns SB Fashion Directs, Smita Patel, reached out to you.
Incredible.
So give us an idea of what we're going to see in that show.
Oh yes, definitely. I'm gonna bring my signature pieces that I developed all across the world and give you a proper presentation of, you know, making the world your runway.
That's absolutely going to be fantastic, and a lot of my pageant girls are in that show, so it's going to be amazing. And it's possibly with, you know, we have photographers there, so possibly what we could do is I have a lot of billboards going up again, Las Vegas, California, New York, and we're always looking, you know, to do something a little different. So maybe we could get some great pictures and, you know, feature some 3/4 shots on some of our billboards with your designs. And I think that would be amazing because it would be different, it would be edgy, and especially in New York, it would just definitely fit right in.
Yes, most definitely. And that's one thing about, you know, cross promoting and collabing. I love collaborating and, you know, working with a team to, you know, further ideas, you know, like you said, being in Japan and seeing these other cultures and getting inspired and seeing how they do things. Like, I've been to New York Fashion Week, LA, Miami, of course. And one thing about going to Shanghai, it was a whole nother realm. Shanghai Fashion Week was, it really opened my eyes to what's possible. And that was incredible. And, you know, from going there to going to Bali, it was just a whole, like, you know, out of mind experience. So just collaborating with Russians and Asians, and it's just a whole nother realm. This here is actually the origin video. This is one of the jackets I made during the revival, as you can see.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. It's great, and it just fits right in with the setting.
Amazing. This was amazing. So basically, the meaning behind this video here is he's in search for himself. So this is the origin, the journey within. So as she plays the symphony, he's searching for himself and things like that, to where he then comes in touch with others cut from the same cloth, to where he finds himself at whole.
I love it. Yeah, it sounds like me. I'm always searching for myself, and when I do that, I resort back to my music.
It's a lifetime journey.
Yeah, that's a way for me to find myself again. I get so immersed into it. If I'm having a bad day, I'll say, you know what? Let me just break out into one of my songs, and then it kind of, it definitely, it just.
And then you unlocked another part of yourself that you never knew.
Right, and that's the whole thing, unlocking part of yourself. And, you know, again, I always say that you're always going to have the 𝐒𝐿 and the Lagerfelds of the world, but what you're doing is so different. As a matter of fact, there was a designer in Italy that did something so totally different, and a lot of people thought it was crazy, but it really did connect with audiences around the world. He went into a supermarket and did a fashion show up and down the aisles of a supermarket.
Oh yeah, I mean, Gucci just did it at the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yes, Gucci did that as well too. So I think what's happening now is that a lot of designers that we know that have been around that kind of follow the norm that, sold in stores like Bergdorf Goodman and Neiman Marcus are starting to be more creative and come out of the box and do things a lot different. But when I saw that in a supermarket, I said, "Oh my God, who would have ever thought of something like that?"
Incredible. Yeah,
And
actually, one of my projects I'm working on, well, I shouldn't say it, but yeah, we'll keep that moving. You'll see it. I can show you better than I can tell you.
exactly. You
Yes.
always want to have that ace in the hole and not to, not show everything,
Yes,
but still.
yeah, the ideas that I have are like, yes, are there and ready to come in fruition. So
Well,
yeah,
just
it's good to be back in Miami, home soil, to connect with you and everyone else that's seen my journey and understand my arts and really respect it. That's
yes.
foremost, appreciative, because when you land in these places that, you have to make a name for yourself, it really, it's a challenge, but it's what you do it for,
Exactly. And you know what? It takes one artist to appreciate another artist. And I've noticed that because sometimes when I go on stage and I'm not doing what I normally do and I come out of the box, I can see a few eyebrows raising in the audience. And I have to find a way to pull them back in, And one thing I've always learned with an audience is I'll start my show off with a song and maybe I'll do another song, but then all of a sudden I just talk to the audience.
Yeah, you got to be interactive for sure, definitely.
Exactly, because I have to make them understand what I'm doing, but at the same time I have to understand what they're looking for.
Yes, that's an interesting topic because in the Rebirth fashion show, one of the shows that you just viewed,
Right.
before that, well, during that show, I actually had, as you can see, it was like a palm. So the VIP was surrounding the runway. So I actually had 3 freestyle dancers, as if they were guests in the runway on the VIP, come out of their seats as my first debut, as my first model walked back. So it was kind of like, as soon as that bass hit, that show mix hit, the dancers came out of their seats, came through the water, danced on the runway. It was insane. So just off that, interacting with the audience and the guests kind of just captivate them,
Yeah,
So
that's
you look for certain different ways to spark the viewers. And that's one thing that I really developed throughout all my shows. None of my shows are the same. Like I have ballet, I have drums, I have fire. It's always finding a way where you can just, differentiate yourself and, push yourself to a higher extent.
and you know what? That's something I did something like that one time with a Brazilian designer where they came out with this gentleman that had drums and we had the dancers. And that is something that I think when I do my next pageant cruise, and you and I are going to talk about that one, that I want to do a special fashion show, especially out on deck, where just like you say, the elements, fire and water, and there's dancers, and because that's what's going to get the crowd going. It's going to motivate people.
Yeah. It's not just a, materialism. It's a meaning behind it, and one thing about my fashion, it kind of empowers. And one thing about my brand is Forever Fly, and the slogan for that is to live luxurious within self-riches. So not necessarily having things, but a mentality.
Exactly. And I'm excited about this. And I'm so excited talking to you today because all of a sudden I'm getting ideas and you and I have to get together. We've got to create an amazing show. I mean, something that I always say is going to be kick butt, and people are going to be talking about it for years, and they're going to say,
it's a perfect time because like I said, I had to really step out of my element to really, show my worth and what I'm capable of as a proof of myself. To, I feel like this time it really shows who's really in it and who's really structured and who's passionate. There's designers that quit within the first year, but then you have those that live for this, including yourself. Like you've been in all realms of creation, so you're really dedicated to the arts, and that's what it comes down to, getting those individuals, putting them together to make something monumental.
Exactly, exactly. And just to be on the cute side, I mean, I heard the dog barking. Do you design for the dog?
Hey, sure. Does the Yucky want to get a cameo?
Oh my, you know what? One of these days I'm going to bring I have 2 cats. But here's the funniest thing. When I put makeup on and do my hair, I have one cat that has to jump up on the counter. I said to her, I said, I swear that she was a makeup artist in her past life. Because she just jumps up and she stares at me while I do it. And I'm like, and she's so smart. She knows when I'm finished, because the minute I'm finished, she jumps down off that counter. And I always tell her, I go, Peaches, you must have been a makeup artist in your past life, because she is so into it. And I always have to make believe I'm doing something with her. I take the mascara wand and I go around her whiskers.
Nice.
And, oh yeah, and she just loves it.
Cats are just the same. They're us.
Exactly.
I had a cat in Bali. His name was 𝐭𝐮𝐲, and like I would give him like rope chains around his neck, scarves with my fabric. He would like do my test shots in my studio. He was cool. He was definitely something special.
Oh, I love that, because anytime I take pictures or I want to do something, and especially when I'm on a Zoom call, my other cat decides, oh, well, I'm going to get in on the act. She jumps on my chair. Now, she can leap. She's 13 years old, but she can leap. She will jump right up, and people look at me, that a cat on the call? I said, yeah, that's the cat. I said, she's got to get in on the act. So I'm definitely.
Animals are definitely, it's a man's best friend, a human's best friend. It like just that time is fulfilling and kind of like recharges you.
Exactly. It brings back that creativity. In fact, there was one time we did a fashion show where we actually dressed up the dogs and we were walking with the dogs on the runway. And it was the cutest thing. I mean, again, it was something that was different. You'll always see like Breakfast at Tiffany's, where they have the little poodle and the diamonds around the poodle. And it's so funny.
The people will spend the most dollars on their dog, for sure.
Exactly.
And that's definitely a subline that I'm definitely trying to get into.
and it's funny, because when I worked in Bergdorf Goodman in New York City, we actually used to see people come in with these very expensive animals, and you'd laugh because they'd have clothes on them, but then they'd go over to Arpels, Van Cleef and Arpels, and they'd be buying jewelry and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But there were these very expensive dogs coming in with furs and jewelry, and I said, well, it's not only for us humans. Animals got to get on the act too.
Why not?
So it's all about creativity. So, I mean, other than doing the show next week, and I know you've done Valley, and I know you don't want to talk about your big surprise, what are your goals for the future? Where is Forever Lavi really heading?
Oh, yes. I mean, we are going into a new world. We are definitely integrating into the digital world. You're going to be seeing the fashion turn to NFTs, to where it's tradable and tangible goods on the blockchain, to where you're no longer buying a material, you're buying an investment. So there's definitely exciting future ahead of us, and to really connect with you and everyone else to do these monumental shows. Like we said, November 17th, we have the gala. Hope to see everyone that could make it there, because it's going to be extraordinary. This year is 2022 is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be. I feel it, and the world is in a great place and heading in the right direction.
Exactly.
We needed what we needed to go through for this. So for everyone that's striving and doing something, this is the time to really, push forward for it.
Exactly, and I agree with you. And our time is almost up. So any final comments that you'd like to tell the audience? And I mean, I know you've said 2022 is going to be amazing, but if you had to give some final comments, what would you say to our listeners?
Keep chasing your passions, like this is life. So, c'est la vie.
Exactly. Say la vie. And I'm going to do something that they do in India because they just celebrated Diwali. So
Yes.
life
Yes.
and blessings. And
Life
it
and
was a
blessings.
pleasure to have you on the show.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. You've heard it
Thanks
from
everyone for
Lavi.
tuning in.
And watch for our cultural show coming up
Mm.
on November the 17th. You'll see his designs. It's going to be amazing. And we'll be back next week with another special guest. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in to Make Our World Your Runway. See you next time.